In the novel Path of Destruction by Karpyshyn, Darth Bane effectively eliminated Lord Khan and the Brotherhood of Darkness to usher in a new age for the Sith, the Baneite lineage, and the rule of two. The Dark Lord would now have to search far and wide for an apprentice who would eventually carry on the legacy. That is, unless the will of the Force placed one directly in his path.
Bad dreams, Rain. No, not bad dreams, La. I dreamt I was back home.
La never actually spoke to her. She only heard the words inside her head. They communicated through the power of the Force, La had once explained. But whenever Rain answered, she always voiced the words aloud. Bad dreams coming. Rain frowned, trying to figure out exactly what La was trying to tell her. Sometimes when the bouncers talked about dreams, they actually meant something else. Sometimes it was as if the bouncers had visions of the future. She remembered what La had said just before the entire forest had exploded in flames. Bad dreams, Rain. Death dreams. The fires had killed most of the other bouncers. The survivors had all gone mad, all except La. Somehow, Rain had saved her. She'd used the Force, shielding them both from the burning death and destruction, though she wasn't quite sure how she had done it. It had just sort of happened. Now she and La had nobody left but each other. Bad dreams coming. A few hours earlier, she had felt something strange, the ground rumbling beneath her feet, as if something had exploded far, far away. Was this what La was talking about? Was this the bad dream? Or was her friend trying to warn her about something that hadn't happened yet?
I don't understand.
Rain looked around at the bushes surrounding the clearing where she had lain down to sleep. She hadn't seen anything out of the ordinary, not yet anyway. Goodbye, Rain. There was an aching sorrow in La's words that stabbed through Rain's heart like a knife, but she still didn't know what the bouncer was talking about. Before she could ask, there was a sound from the bushes. She spun around to see two men come crashing into the clearing. She could tell right away they were Jedi. They wore the same brown robes as Master Tor, and she saw lightsabers dangling from their belts. Each one also carried a large blaster rifle.
Bouncer! Look out!
They reacted so quickly their motions were nothing but a blur as they opened fire. By the time the screams left Rain's lips, her friend was already dead. She was still screaming when the first Jedi ran up to her.
Are you okay, little one?
Instinctively, she lashed out at him. She didn't know how she did it. It wasn't even a conscious thought. She only knew he had shot her friend. He had killed La.
What's the
His voice was cut short as she snapped his neck with the Force. The eyes of his companion went wide in horror, but before he could do anything else, she had broken his neck too. Only then did Rain stop screaming. Instead, she began to cry, great heaving sobs that racked her body, as she crawled over to press herself against the soft green fur of La's still warm body, where it had fallen to the ground. Bane found her there, a young human child, weeping over the remains of one of Ruusan's native bouncers. The corpses of two young Jedi lay nearby, their heads twisted at obscene angles to their bodies. It took him only an instant to piece together what must have happened. The girl looked up at him as he approached, her eyes puffy and red. He guessed she was 9, maybe 10 at most. He could feel the power of the Force burning in her, fueled by grief and rage and hatred. Even if he hadn't sensed it, the broken Jedi at her feet gave mute testament to her abilities. He didn't speak but stood silently. The girl's sobbing stopped. She sniffled and wiped her nose with the back of her hand. Then she rose to her feet and took a tentative step forward.
Who are you?
His voice was deep and threatening. She didn't retreat or flee, though her reply was hesitant.
My name is Rain. I mean Zannah. My cousins used to call me Rain, but they're dead now. Zannah is my real name.
Bane nodded, understanding completely. Rain, a nickname, a name of childhood and innocence, an innocence now lost.
Do you know who I am?
She nodded and took a step forward.
You're a Sith.
You're not afraid of me?
No?
She insisted with a shake of her head. Although Bane knew she wasn't being completely honest, he could feel her fear, but it was buried beneath far stronger emotions: grief, anger, hatred, and the desire for revenge.
I have killed many people. Men, women, even children.
She shuddered but held her ground.
I'm a killer too.
Bane glanced over at the Jedi corpses, then turned his focus back to the little girl, standing defiantly before him. Was she the one? Had the Force led him along this route back to his ship? Had it brought him here at this exact moment, simply so he could find his apprentice? He asked the final, most important question.
Do you know the ways of the Force? Do you understand the true nature of the dark side?
No,
Rain admitted, never dropping her gaze from his own.
but you can teach me. I'm young. I will learn.
Subscribe and follow for more Star Wars content.